So we're just coming off the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird courtship of rivals rivalry, right? Which we now know is the primary rivalry that actually saved the NBA, which leads us to today's reaction video, all right? Today we're gonna check out the Dream Team documentary. A lot of you guys were requesting this, and you know I'm here to deliver. So I'm gonna try to name as many as I can that I know off the memory that were on this team. I know we got, of course, Magic Johnson. I know we got Pippen. I know we got Bird. I know we got Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, John Stockton. I know we got a player from Duke University, one of the best players at that time. But as far as my memory, that's all I got. So let's get right into the video.
Why do people talk about dreams so much in sports? Dream seasons, dream matchups, dream opportunities. They do it because so much of sports is about imagining what you want things to be like. If only the setting were just right.
It was one of those times none of us
David
will ever
Robinson.
forget.
The characters just right.
Let's go.
I don't know anything
Come on.
about Angola, but Angola's in trouble.
The timing just right.
11 Hall of Famers. I don't think you can ever do that again at no point in time.
If only it could all be
We'll
the way
see.
you might have dreamed it up yourself.
Are you filming? Yep.
That was the most exhilarating 15 seconds of my life.
People perceived us as
Bird.
being superheroes.
Please, Michael Jordan!
No, as if Thomas
We became a team, and that team just stomped on everybody.
Barkley throwing alleys.
This never happened in sports. Nowhere.
Well, I figured eventually there'd be a movie made about the Dream Team.
This group may well be the greatest team ever assembled in the history of team sports.
The Dream Team, let's go.
God bless you, and God bless.
The 90s, man. The golden era of basketball.
20 years can go by pretty fast, and the world isn't gonna stop and wait for you to remember what it used to look like. 1992 was a time of change. New faces in America quickly transforming into cultural icons. None more so than the superstars of the NBA.
Let the party begin.
After the legends of the 80s had lifted the league's profile to new heights,
Save basketball.
a fresh crop of players had blown the lid off.
Barkley! Bro, Barkley took it all the way down off the rebound. Hold on, y'all. Hold on.
A fresh crop of players had blown the lid off.
He's fast as hell. That's what. Okay. Wow.
Here's Ewing.
Their talents and their charisma made them more than just basketball players.
Hung out.
I am not a role
All
model.
that.
They were a new kind of star athlete whose popularity transcended the game.
How'd I forget about David Robinson, bro? Come on.
Is it the shoes?
No, Mom.
And now the very best of them awaited their brightest showcase, the world's largest athletic stage, the Olympic Games in Barcelona, Spain, even if no one truly realized the impact they would make there.
It's a watershed moment in the history of sports, not just the Olympics, not just basketball. It moved the culture along.
But in 1992, not everyone was ready for them. Not everyone thought pro basketball stars had a place in the Olympics.
This kind of thing had never, ever, ever been done. So there was a lot of, poking the bear, if you will, by people in my profession. Sports journalists and journalists in general were skeptical, angry, because this wasn't the Olympic movement.
The Olympic ideal had always been about amateur competition, which meant the United States had always sent basketball teams made up of college kids, teams that dominated for decades.
Meanwhile, other countries got to send
In
whoever they wanted.
1972, the Soviet Union was awarded a victory over the U.S. in a controversial gold medal game.
The United States apparently had won the game.
Wonder why it was controversial, though.
To this day, that American team still hasn't claimed their silver
But they
medals.
didn't show up for the medal?
But that result seemed like a fluke when the Americans got the gold in their next 2 Olympic appearances.
U.S. has its 9th gold medal.
While the U.S. celebrated, though, the rest of the world was catching up. So in 1988, when the Soviets won again, there was no talk of any fluke.
The United States goes home with a semifinal loss to the bigger, more experienced USSR team.
Wow.
I was embarrassed. I know some of the guys left their medals there in the room. They didn't want to take them home. And here we are, USA on our chest, and we didn't get the job done.
Right.
But the amateur ideal had gotten muddled. While NBA players were prohibited from Olympic competition, professionals from other leagues abroad could play.
If you played in Europe for money, you were an amateur, but if you played in the NBA for money, you were a professional.
Yeah.
And so our players weren't eligible.
Those other countries were using pros, playing against 18, 19-year-old kids. That is really unfair.
Changing the hypocrisy,
You know Charles Bright gonna say
was
it.
the central goal of a European named Boris Stankovic, the head of FIBA, the World Basketball Federation.
He was very much intent on lifting basketball up to the highest possible level of international sports. And if the whole world knew that the very best players in the world were not participating in the Olympics, that made it a second-class event.
So in 1989, Stankovic issued a resolution to allow pros from all leagues to compete in the Olympics. But back in America, the NBA was lukewarm to the idea.
We wanted to be good partners with FIBA to grow the sport of basketball, but we weren't particularly anxious. We didn't know what it would mean. We didn't know if our players would want to do it. We didn't know what the logistics were, but the vote passed, and NBA players were eligible for the Olympics.
Now the issue wasn't about whether American pros could play, but whether the best players wanted to play.
The one guy that, that we were a little concerned about was probably Michael.
The thought back then was Michael Jordan plays 36 holes of golf 90 days during the summer. What the hell is he going to be doing playing basketball?
I was hoping they would not ask me to participate. And I was trying to figure out a way graciously that I could decline.
So he didn't want to play.
I'd done the Olympic thing before, and
yeah, you guys medals.
When Rod Thorne called me and asked me, I wasn't gung-ho about it.
My appeal to him was, you're the top player in the world.
You gotta go.
This is bigger than the NBA Finals, and we need you. His thing, well, who else is playing? I mean, are all the good players going to play? I'm not going to play by myself.
So Michael Jordan waited to hear more, and Rod Thorne made his next call.
It was a no-brainer for me. I was in from day one. And I figured if I jumped in first and said I wanted to play, that would get guys to want to participate as well.
Let's go.
I think if Magic wasn't on that team, I don't think it would have been as spectacular as it was. And to finish out our careers, that was important for both of us.
Bro, all these players playing
Once
together
you get guys
is
like Magic
sick.
and Larry committing to the team, then all of a sudden it becomes something very, very special. Representing the USA is already a tremendous honor, but to know that you're going to be on a dream team is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Right.
Magic, Bird, and David Robinson weren't alone in their pride.
They called in the big guns. We're the Navy SEALs that we had to go over there and kick butts and take names.
With those stars and the Utah Jazz tandem of John Stockton and Karl Malone, the dream team was starting to take shape.
It don't matter if you call me last.
He got some big.
I got the call.
God, lifting the weights.
I didn't feel like that I deserved to be called, but I truly wasn't going to tell them that.
I was like, yeah, I'm in. I didn't even think to say who else was on the team. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Yes.
Right, sign me up.
Charles Barkley's ability was never in question, But his attitude was.
God want us to win the world championship.
I don't know if I go that far, Charles.
No, I talked to him the other night.
I learned early in Philadelphia. It doesn't matter what I say. So from this day forward, I'm gonna say what the hell I wanna say. And some people gonna like it, and some people gonna dislike it.
But after a series of incidents on and off the court, the least of the committee's concerns were about what Barkley would say.
I was asked to talk to him. He was so honored that we would even think about asking him. He convinced me that you won't have any problems with me.
It's kind of funny to see how Charles Barkley's mentality actually benefited him long term, because now he's sitting back as a basketball analyst, giving some of the best takes we can ever hear from a former basketball player. So it definitely paid off, just speaking your mind and speaking what's current and not being afraid of being criticized for it. Let's get back into it.
With the team nearly complete, Rod Thorne had enough talent secured to go back to where he started.
Bro, this team is sick.
Representing my country was a big thing, but I think, the biggest motivation for me was now I get to spend time with some of the guys I compete against all the time.
Portland's Clyde Drexler rounded out the list of NBA players, while the final spot on the roster was reserved for an amateur, Duke's Christian Laettner, coming off back-to-back NCAA titles.
There's the pass to Laettner.
Duke.
Puts it up. Yes!
In any other Olympic year, Laettner might have been the team's biggest star. But on this team, he was fine with being the last guy on the bench.
He said, oh my God.
I tell people this all the time, and it may shock them, but my most enjoyable year was my freshman year, because they don't expect nothing from you except carry the luggage, do the laundry, and get our donuts. And that's easy. The harder thing is to be the leader.
By May of 1991, 2 months before the Olympics, the team was set. One college kid and 11 future Hall of Famers. The man charged with putting it all together was the unflappable.
I'm not gonna lie though, I'm kind of the one person I'd say they're missing, in my opinion, would probably be Isaiah Thomas, man. I mean, you know what I mean? It could probably fit him in there somewhere, you know what I mean? But Isaiah Thomas, I think, definitely should have made the team. Let's get back into it.
Future Hall of Famers. The man charged with putting it all together was the unflappable Chuck Daly.
If they had Isaiah Thomas, boy.
Okay, all set.
Chuck looked the part. He was the guy that looked like he owned the arena, but he would also push the broom.
His hair was beautiful. His suits were immaculate. He wanted to win,
clean, boy,
but he
clean.
wanted to look good.
He was clean.
As the head coach of the Detroit Pistons,
swag,
Daly did both, winning back-to-back championships in 1989 and 90.
Yeah. How do you not have Isaiah on that team?
The Pistons were nicknamed the Bad Boys for their aggressive and some said dirty style of play, never more evident than in their memorable playoff battles with Michael Jordan's Bulls.
Michael on the move against Vinnie Johnson to the hoop. He is necktied. Michael Jordan goes down hard.
Detroit and Chicago had no love for each other.
So when Daly was named the Dream Team coach, many wondered how he'd handle working with the Bulls' biggest star.
I was being asked to wrestle with some demons and some issues.
But the coach was well acquainted with the task of managing personalities.
He coached the Bad Boys. And if you can coach those, you can coach anybody.
Charles, bro.
One player Daly
he gonna keep it real
be
with
coaching
you.
in the Olympics, however, was his own star in Detroit, point guard Isaiah Thomas.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Controversially, had been left off the team's roster.
Exactly.
No matter how much people try to say now, it was no big a deal. It was a big deal.
I talked to Isaiah at the beginning of the year about the aspect he wasn't on the team, and he was not comfortable with it. I'm sure he is very hurt. He's a very deserving player, but he was not selected.
Thomas was well on his way to a Hall of Fame career, but was also seen by many as the biggest cultivator of the Bad Boys image in Detroit.
The smallest person on the floor.
Isaiah was
the biggest
general.
instigator. Yeah.
He was the guy that would yap at his teammates and say, knock them on the ass, do whatever you got to do.
Beautiful backdoor pass from Pippen, and he is walloped. He knew he was going to get hit.
I despised the way that he played the game.
Back in the day.
Did you want him on the dream team?
No, I did not want him on the team.
Did Michael? Did he want him on the team?
Well, I can't speak for Michael.
Yeah, you're going to have to ask Michael now.
I don't think he wanted him on the team.
Now, there has been speculation that your icy relationship with Isaiah Thomas is the reason that he was not selected. Well, what is your reaction to that?
That was one of the stipulations put to me prior to me even committing, that Isaiah wasn't a part of the team. I was getting strong innuendos that it wasn't just, it was coming from higher places that didn't want Isaiah Thomas on the team.
Certainly things are being pointed at me because of our relationship.
So they was trying to blame Michael for it, but at the end of the day, it was bigger. The big wigs making the decision, trying to make the best team they could possibly make and being cohesive and getting along. They don't want any drama probably on overseas. I get that. Come on.
And of course about the way that the
but Michael took the hit
between Detroit and Chicago ended.
We were picking the group just after the Pistons had been eliminated by the Bulls, and it was very bad timing for Isaiah. Everybody had fresh in their mind the picture of Isaiah walking off the court.
Pistons wasting no time in getting out of here. They left the bench, although there's 7 and 9 seconds remaining. The Pistons just left.
When the Pistons
just walked off,
the court before the final bell, I think it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
All right, no Isaiah Thomas stuff.
No Isaiah Thomas question.
Cool.
Jordan ain't messing around.
And the team were done answering questions about Isaiah. But with training camp approaching, a bigger question would need to be answered.
Hello, how you doing?
How would the 12 stars that were selected play together?